Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link Trait and Ignite herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Ignite are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk a little about something that Darren and I often say in passing here on the show, and that is spread your risk. What's that mean exactly for farmers?
Well, it means a lot of things. When you think about farming, let's just look at this field, for example. Now, are we going to put one variety out here, or are we going to put more than one? You think about it, maybe there's a disease that one is not tolerant of, and all of a sudden it wipes that corn crop out, and if this was your only field, you'd get nothing. So you may want to plant more than one hybrid, whether it's just this field or your whole farm. So what we do on our farm, we don't plant any hybrid on more than 100 acres.
Corn or soybean variety, well, 100's probably pushing it, 200 I would say for sure. But anyway, the point is we plant a lot of different varieties. We plant a lot of different maturities. In other words, some of them are ready to harvest early, some of them are ready to harvest late, because like this year, for example, we had an early frost in our area. So all the soybean varieties that were ready early, well, they were fine. They yielded fantastically well. All the ones that were going to get ready late, they didn't get the chance because we had that early frost, and they didn't yield as well. So you just never know from year to year with something like that.
The other thing farmers will do is they'll place their plant nutrients in multiple places to try and avoid some risk there as well. Say they like to do some deep strip tilling with dry fertilizer, for example. Well, maybe we don't get much rain this year and that dry fertilizer never breaks down. So a lot of farmers, to control that risk a little bit, will put some liquid fertilizer that's highly available right in the furrow. That way they know for sure your crop is going to have some plant food until at least late in the season, and hopefully that deep fertility will break down by then.
So what this all amounts to is, and the reason why we wanted to talk about this today is, you know, there are a lot of corn farmers in our country that they're spending $1,000 an acre just to put the corn in the ground. And, you know, by the time you figure all their different costs with seed and fertilizer, the stuff to kill the weeds, the equipment, I mean, it is a tremendous amount of cost, or the other way to look at it is it's a tremendous amount of risk. Just like if you're trying to invest in something, people will always tell you, well, don't invest all your money in one thing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You want to spread out your risk. So when you start looking at $1,000 an acre to raise corn, and like on our farm, we're going to produce probably 1,500, 1,700 acres of corn this coming year. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. We really have a lot at stake. So we don't want to have all the same variety. We don't want to have all the same planting date. We don't want to have all the same fertility program. We like to mix things up.
Now the other side of risk is, what are you going to sell that crop for? And when you think about marketing corn, let's face it, most of the corn raised in the United States is a commodity. It's number 2 yellow corn. You could sell it at an ethanol plant or a grain elevator or to a feedlot or wherever you want to go. So what farmers will do to kind of hedge some of that risk is sell a little bit of that crop all through the season. So like right now, for example, we don't even have any crop in the ground yet, but we already have a percentage of our crop sold at a certain price level. Now, fortunately this year, we were able to lock in profit, where we're selling the crop at a price higher than what our cost of production is. Farmers don't always get that choice. Some years, the cost of production is higher.
That's where I completely disagree with you, Darren. We haven't locked in a profit because we don't know what we're going to produce for a crop. We don't know how many bushels we're going to get. Do we think we've locked in a profit? We think we have, but we really don't know. And that's the last thing that we wanted to get to here is crop insurance. We do now, as farmers, have much better crop insurance than what we used to have. So not only can we insure a certain number of bushels per acre, whether it's corn, soybeans, wheat, or any crop that we're raising, we can also lock in a revenue. So in other words, it's this many bushels at this much price, and here is your premium, Mr. Farmer. So now I feel pretty confident that, yeah, even if worst case scenario we get completely hailed out, at least we can cover all of our costs.
Hey Brad, and the last thing I want to say, when we talk about reducing risk, let's talk about weed control. If you've got some tough weeds out there, which every field does, that's one of the biggest threats to your crop production. So what farmers like to do is put something out pre-emerge to control most of the weeds. Then they can come back in post-emerge and they won't have so many weeds to kill. So by taking 2 shots at the weeds, they're certainly reducing risk.
Well, speaking of those weeds, we've got a tough weed of the week coming up later in the show. Can you identify this week's weed?